Yeah, welcome people. Okay, so it is 10 minutes past 6 in the AM right now, and I have some thoughts I would like to share about perseverance and forcing things through. So if you'd like to hear that, then stick around. But yeah, I came across a video that a friend of mine posted. She does business coaching, and she was talking about not forcing things through. And it just made sense to me that you shouldn't really have to force things through. It should be just smooth, right? But then at the same time, it kind of conflicts with the idea of perseverance to some degree, because anytime you have something that you're trying to achieve, any kind of goal you're trying to accomplish, there's going to be perseverance. You need to be able to persevere through things because it's not always going to go smoothly. And you have to be somewhat prepared for that and ready for the fact that you might have to jump over a few hurdles, that you might have to, go a bit further than you might have anticipated and things like that. But at the same time, this whole idea of not forcing things makes sense as well. So now I'm thinking perhaps there's a difference between perseverance and force. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about on this video. And it's not Sunday, but it is a little bit past sunrise. So yeah, perhaps not serious Sunday, more like serious sunrise right now. Anyway, so yeah, I want to talk about that because, I'm thinking like, if you have a square peg and a round hole, right, and you try to put that square peg in that round hole, it's not going to go. Right? It's not going to go through. And you could persevere and persevere and persevere and persevere and persevere and persevere and persevere times infinity. It's not going to go through that. That square peg is not going to go through that round hole. And I just realized how this kind of looks. But anyway, let's ignore that for now. But it's not going to go through that round hole. But once you start getting into that part where you're forcing it through, and you're forcing it and forcing it and forcing it, you'd eventually get that square peg into that round hole. But it would break, the peg would break, the hole would break, or maybe not the hole, but the thing that the hole is in, that would break, or maybe your hand would break, something would break, maybe all three would be damaged, so you can get that square peg in that round hole, but it would be broken, right? And I kind of like to, I tend to compare things to like relationships, if you're with somebody. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, you're going to have obstacles and hurdles and things that you persevere through. And if you're both working towards this goal, then it should, it's not going to be smooth, but you should be all in sort of sync with each other, where you're both kind of working towards building this relationship and making this relationship work. But if you've ever been in a relationship where you love them way more than they love you, like you really want this relationship to work and they just don't care. If you've ever been in that kind of a situation and you're trying your hardest to make this work because you love them, like you're putting up with a lot of their BS because you love them, you're forgiving them for all kinds of atrocities because you love them, because you just want this relationship to work. That is a very imbalanced place to be in. And at some point you realize that no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you want this to work, it's just not going to work, and you need to be away from that. You need to step away from trying to make this work, because it's just going to result in pain, in misery, in heartache, and all those bad things, right? And so I'll kind of compare that to like relationships to that, or everything to relationships, I should say, rather. So what is your relationship to this goal that you're trying to achieve? Is it something that you're persevering through, but it still feels like, you're getting somewhere, and maybe not, things aren't going all the exact way you want them to go, and maybe doing things a little bit differently and this and the other, but you kind of still feel like there's progress and there's things happening, and you still feel like you're achieving something, even if it's not quite the very thing that you set out. You feel like you're getting somewhere, for all the efforts and energy that you put into it. You feel like you're getting somewhere, and maybe that's okay, right? That's your perseverance. But if it feels like you're just not getting anywhere, like you're trying hard, you're doing all these things, I don't know, you're taking the classes, or you're going to these meetings, and you're doing all these things, everything you're supposed to be doing, getting all the advice and everything, you're just trying and working hard and persevering and going through and getting up early and doing all these things that you're supposed to be doing, but it just feels like nothing is happening. It just feels like you're stuck. And maybe the truth is that you're not actually stuck. Maybe you are further along than you kind of realize, but for some reason it just feels like you're stuck, right? And I think that's an important thing to pay attention to, because you're always going to have some level of movement, but it can always feel like you're just stuck, like you're not really going anywhere, right? And I think when it comes to that, that's where you might enter into the realms of forcing, because you're not really. It's like, okay, so let's say you got the round peg now and a round hole. That round peg will go in that round hole. But if that round peg has, a little bit of I don't know, like stickiness on it, it's not going to go smoothly. You can persevere and still go through and it'd be fine. But again, that square peg and that round hole, now you're forcing. And I think, you might make a dent, right? But you're still forcing. It's not quite where you want to be, or where you're trying to be. And for some reason, no matter how hard you're trying, even if you're not quite in the same place where you were when you started, you just feel like it's not working and something is wrong and something is just not there. And I think when you start to feel like that and you're still going, you are entering it into realms of force. And you have to ask yourself, do you love this thing more than it loves you? Is that same kind of unrequited relationship where you're putting so much effort into something that just does not love you back, And if you're in that situation, then just like in the relationship, I think it's time to take a massive step back. I'm not saying give up, so to speak, but definitely take a massive step back and reassess how you do things. And that's a hard thing for me to say, because I've always been of that mindset of, keep going no matter what, do what you need to do, keep going, just keep going. But sometimes I think we might have to admit that we love this thing that we're trying to achieve more than it loves us. And if we keep trying to force ourselves into that situation or into that place, into that thing we're trying to achieve, you keep going, you just not get anywhere. Or eventually, maybe you do finally get into that space, but because you forced your way in, something's broken. You're broken. It's broken. Something is broken. Probably you. Let's be honest. It's probably going to be you that breaks. So you could get into that space, but you're not going to enjoy it as you should be able to, because it's broken or you're broken. And I feel like for me at this point in my life, happiness is key, and just being in a place of mental clarity. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but just not stressing myself out over things. And it's like I feel like I'm in this point where I have to like reassess a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, and whether or not I want to continue to do it, and if I do continue to do it, I might continue to do it in the same way. And am I loving these things more than they love me? You know what I mean? And perhaps I have been forcing my way into something, or trying to force my way into a place where I'm not supposed to be, or I'm loving this thing that doesn't love me back. So it's been a lot to to think about, when perseverance becomes force. And I think recognizing that shift, or not even a shift really, I guess that point where, because you do need to persevere. Things aren't always going to go smoothly. Things aren't always going to be easy, and you're always going to have obstacles, and things aren't always going to work out the way you want. So you do need to persevere, but recognizing when that perseverance becomes force and you're just trying to get into something that you're not really supposed to be in, you're loving something that doesn't love you, or whatever it may be, that you might need to take a massive step back and just reassess your relationship with this thing and how that looks going forward. Like I say, I don't think it's about giving up, so to speak, not just like you just quit. Oh, I can't. I don't think it's like that's strictly speaking, but definitely, at least for me anyway, just like, okay, what is it that I really want to do? What's really important to me? And how does that work with the things that I love that don't always love me back? But anyway, just some thoughts that I want to share. Let me know what you think. Drop any suggestions, recommendations in the comments, send them through and I see what I can do. Like, share, subscribe, because we're doing this 10-year get me, fam. More videos on screen. Check out my other channels as well. Be much appreciated. But that's going to be it for the minute. So guys, until whenever, if ever, peace.